What's going on, y'all? Coach Eric here, and just doing a video talking a little bit about basically my offerings as a fitness coach consultant and the pricing associated with it, why the pricing is the way that it is, and why it's getting ready to change again. So, for those of you guys that don't know, I've been a fitness instructor for just over 12 years now. Prior to that, I dabbled in running, I dabbled in CrossFit, but effectively speaking, I've been a coach for just over 12 years. And so not only does that come with a lot of experience, mostly through trial and error, it comes with a lot of perspective, right? And I say that because I feel like a lot of times that's what people are lacking in order to get from where they're at to where they're trying to go. They're lacking the right perspective, or at least different, fresher perspective. And so as a fitness consultant, that's primarily what I do, is enhance people's perspective, give them a different way to look at their situation from basically a bird's eye view type of approach is what I call it. And so I remember going back to almost 4 years ago when I first started doing these consultations when I moved to Texas. And some of you guys out there, comment below if you remember this, because I did quite a few consultations with some of you guys I'm still Facebook friends with. But I was charging $50 for consultations, maybe $60 on occasion, but usually $50. They would take an hour to hour and a half. I would cover a bunch of stuff, ton of information, basically anything they wanted to know about fitness and nutrition. And then, I'd have them take notes, I'd take notes, I'd transcribe the notes, and that was basically it. You know what I mean? We'd have some follow-up coaching if they needed it. It was an easy process, quick buy-in, quick payout, and then they're on to fixing their problems. And that was successful for so many people. I mean, seriously, $50 fix. And they're like, oh, I get what I need to do with my nutrition. I get what I need to do with my fitness. Got it. And then they go out and execute. Most of them are highly successful. But what I noticed is that not only was I having to do more of these consultations to keep the lights on and to keep money coming in, but it just seemed like people weren't taking them as seriously as I needed them to, and I realized that had a lot to do with their actual buy-in, right? So in order to kind of kill two birds in one stone, do less consultations, make them deeper, more effective, and get people to get more initial buy-in, I had to raise the prices. And so that went from $50 to $100 to $150 and $250, and then literally from $250 I jumped and I doubled it to $500, and I've been sitting there for months now. And I've done consultations, I kid you not, with people all over the world, different countries, different states. I'm here in Texas personally, but I've done them with people all over the US, Canada, just all over. Anybody that could speak English. If they could speak English and we can communicate and they could get a hold of me on video chat, then I've done a consultation. I'm able to do a consultation with them. And so the reason why they're currently sitting at $500, speaking of the consultation specifically, the reason why they're currently sitting at $500 is because of the fact that I honestly feel like the value is there. The people who have paid for these consultations and are already experiencing results, they know the value is there, and here's why. So if you think about somebody embarking on their fitness journey, just getting off the couch, trying to get back into it after however many months or years off, and or somebody that is, maybe having a semi-regular workout schedule and they're just trying to get results because they're stagnant, they're at a plateau, or they're trying to take it up to the next level because they got a goal or something going on. It's not necessarily so easy as a right and wrong way to do things. Right? So different things work for different people and to different degrees based on so many different circumstances. And not understanding those circumstances is how people typically fall short. So again, going back to that example of a brand new gym goer, somebody that's just barely starting out on their journey, the key to it is sustainability. And even for that 10-year gym goer that's trying to enhance their results already, the key is sustainability. So what can you do? What kind of process can you implement so that you can sustain your ability? That's what you get if you break that word apart. You're trying to sustain your ability. So that's the first key right there, is what can you do to get that going. The second thing is how do you make it simple so that you understand it? Because as I tell clients and prospective clients and anybody that'll listen, there's a greater opportunity for consistency through simplicity. So if you make something seem simple to somebody, they're much more likely to follow it. And if they follow it, they're much more likely to be consistent and ultimately successful with it. And so if you have people that are embarking on these journeys or enhancing their journeys, and they could be doing great at the beginning, right? But what happens when they hit their first plateau or their next plateau? What happens if they get injured? What happens if they think they're starting to get injured? What happens if their energy levels start to fall apart? What happens if their nutrition isn't really, checking all the boxes that they needed to check or it is, but they're not happy with it and they know that they can't sustain whatever type of eating it is that they're doing, it's ultimately not going to work out too good for them, right? And so that's where somebody like me can come in and help deconflict the problem and say, okay, these are the pieces that are applicable to your fitness puzzle, and here's the pieces that you should look to add to it and, you know, solidify that picture, and here's the ones that you should disregard because they don't really apply to you, or at least they don't really apply to you now. So by telling people, giving them essentially filters to work off of, I'm helping prevent what's called information overload, and that's key because when people get information overload, they usually fall off the wagon. And I'll use an example of like cars, you know, mechanic in a car analogy. So I always say that cars are very analogous to people, and this is yet another example. If you think about it this way, whenever we diet with our body, exercise, we're trying to recomp, do whatever, we're essentially biohacking, what's called biohacking our bodies. And that's really tricky, right? Because there's a lot of internal things that we can't really see going on. So imagine if you were somebody that was having car problems and you're not a classically trained mechanic, and you decide that you're just going to go out in the garage with some tools or in the driveway with some tools and you're going to tinker with the car. May work out for you, may not work out for you. Now, if you have a owner's manual, if you have a mechanic's manual or a, you know, a fix-it manual or something like that, and maybe some instructions from like a forum or a buddy or a tech or something like that, then you're going to be more likely to be successful, but that still doesn't guarantee that you're not going to hit a snag once you get under the hood, right? And so it's essentially the same thing when you're dealing with biohacking with your body, because if you were out fixing your car trying to and you hit a snag, couldn't get past it, what are you going to do? You're going to leave the tools right where you are, right where they are, and you're going to call a tow truck or a mobile mechanic, right? Because now the situation is out of your hands. It's beyond the scope of your understanding. You can no longer positively affect it. That's what happens with a lot of people when they're trying to biohack their way to better health and fitness, usually trying to lose weight or gain muscle mass or both, is that they run into that snag. They might throw their hand up and ask for help, you know, but either they don't get it or they don't get sufficient help, and so now the project, the car, stays in the driveway and is left, you know, open to conditions and circumstances, whatever happens while it's not being worked on and not being fixed. That's literally what happens to people when they start something, health and fitness wise, fall off the wagon and then just kind of get stagnant. And so with my approach, yeah, it might cost, you know, $500 initially as your buy-in, but what you're getting is not only knowledge, not only expertise, but you're getting it now. You're getting it distilled, you're getting it in a way that is super simple to understand, and more importantly, you're getting somebody that now from the intercommunication understands your problem and your situation and your circumstances as good as anybody else on the planet, aside from probably next to you, and arguably sometimes maybe even better than the client, right? Because again, I'm taking that bird's eye view. So I'll say this, right? The information that I teach people, that I give to people during the consultations, 100% of it is already out there on the internet. 100% of it. I didn't make any of it up. I kid you not. Even the anecdotal stuff that I've, you know, come to witness or come to notice with myself, I didn't create any of it. I might have created those conditions and those circumstances for my body to receive that anecdotal evidence, but I'm not the first person to experience any of those things that I've experienced, is what I'm saying. And so it just gives people, these consultations give people a way to make sure that they're ultimately super successful, super consistent, and that they're the least stressed out about it as possible. Because again, going back to that car analogy, say you hit that same snag in the driveway, but then you're like, you know what, I don't have the money for the mechanic, I don't have the time for a mechanic, there is no mechanic around, whatever the case is, I have to do it myself. Cool. Now you have to get read up on your problem, what you're dealing with, whether that's books, videos, you know, guides or whatever. Now, how much value, effort-wise, is that going to cost you literally diving into something that you're not naturally proficient in? At best, it's going to cost you a lot of time. At worst, it's probably going to cost you your sanity, and that's worth more than a couple $100, at least to me, I think. So when people do pay for these consultations, it gives them that peace of mind, it gives them that accountability, it gives them the ability to get their problem understood by somebody else. And then, like I said, you know, the information's already out there, but, you know, if I get a piece of information from a video on a celebrity influencer, and then I get this other piece of information from like a celebrity trainer or something like that, or a doctor, all those pieces of information can be valid. And if you're a client or prospective client out there, you know, on the fence about getting a trainer or consultant, and you're thinking, oh, I just found my answer, so I don't need one. Great. I really hope you understood it to the level that you needed to understand it to implement it actionably and continually, right? Because if you didn't, and you run into a snag and you have to resort to the comment thread or DMing one of those celebrity trainers or influencers or doctors, I hope they don't have a lot of followers, because if they do, good luck getting a response back. And that's the difference right there, because again, these people that put out this content, whether they're doctors, highly valued trainers, highly sought after professionals, they put out great info, but at the same time, they're inundated with their own job and their own clients and their own, lives and their own circumstances, and don't have time to shift through sometimes thousands or tens of thousands of messages and requests that they get. And so the best that the average person can hope for is to connect with a coach who they can talk to on a regular basis, on an instant basis if they need to, that understands their problem equally well and is personally invested in them. That's the difference right there. And that's what I try to get people to understand, because again, if you go off on your own journey, more power to you. That's ultimately what I'm trying to coach people to do anyways. That's what I live by, right? But at the end of the day, what is it going to cost you if you're not able to sustain that consistency? If you don't fully understand your journey, what is that going to cost you mentally? What is that going to cost you stress-wise? And that's before you even get into the fitness information and the fitness tips that I could give somebody that'll help them enhance their physical workouts, that can help prevent them from getting injured, because that's also valuable as well. That's not including the supplementation information that I give people, which, as we know, supplementation just basically adds to what we're already doing and helps fill in any gaps where we might have due to training or lifestyle habits. So that's also worthwhile, because again, supplementation can get pretty expensive pretty quick. And I've known hundreds of people, or I've known plenty of people that have spent hundreds of dollars on supplements per month, myself being one of them formerly. Think about those guys and girls that are in the military, for example, and they're deployed and they have all this extra cash coming in and all this extra time sometimes to work out. I know a lot of my military folks out there have seen this scenario play out time and time again. But you get people spending hundreds of dollars on supplements, and you look at what they're taking and realize they don't need half of that if they just ate better and had a few less unhealthy habits. And so, the supplementation advice that I give people not only enhances their results, but oftentimes saves them money by helping influence some changes in their lifestyle and dietary habits as well. And so, yeah, the consultation itself might cost $500, but I'm telling you, it's saving you much more than that. And that's before you calculate in the results that you're going to get, and that's before you consider the long-term impact that it's going to have. Now, as far as like the continued coaching that I do, I'm still offering that right now for at least the next few weeks at $200 a month. And so if you break that down into 30 days in a month, that's about $7, a little less than $7 a day for a person to have their fitness and nutrition looked over by somebody that is a professional, that can keep them accountable and that can steer them in the right direction. To me, I think that's a steal as well. And then with a couple of the business partners that I'm starting to work with on the side, because I'm trying to expand my offerings and expand my presence online and just in general. I'm working through some additional offerings as well to fit more and more budget types, so everything from a super quick, 10 to 20 minute consult call where somebody could just ask me a specific question about a specific scenario, and we could quick tap that real quick and then get them right back out to working on it. So thinking about offering something like that as well, and in addition to the online coaching and the consultations and all that. So just trying to establish a few different offerings to basically cover not only everybody's budget, but everybody's specific need as well, because not everybody needs a 2 to 3 hour consultation like my consultations go, and or not everybody needs that continued coaching accountability, of day-to-day or weekly check-ins, with additional coaching calls sprinkled in. Not everybody needs that, but some people do. So based on your level of current proficiency and based on where you're trying to get goal-wise, that's going to determine, what level of help that you could possibly need. And if you decide that a coach like me is somebody that could help you out in that journey, and you decide that the value is there, I definitely want you guys to DM me or text me, hit me up however you want, and let's see if we could work together. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. I'm telling you, I could sell these consultations or pitch these sales to people and tell them the dollar value with a straight look on my face and not wince or not back down or not, be offended if they think it's too high, because I know the value's there, and the people that have completed these processes with me and or are currently in the process with me, they know the value is there as well. So I'll leave you guys with this. My whole goal in life is to squeeze the most efficiency out of everything that I do, and then teach my son in particular how to do it so that he could do what he needs to do and live his best life as he gets older. But I also have to find a way to make this make sense and stay profitable and stay fun for me as well. And with that being said, with increasing my presence and partnering up with different people, getting additional certifications, I'm now a certified metabolic coach. All of that just adds to what I'm potentially able to bring to clients. And that being said, the prices will be going up soon. So whether that's my consultation price going up, which it will be soon, the online coaching price going up, which it will be soon, both of those, I feel like the value will still be there once the price is adjusted even. And I just encourage you guys to take me up on the offer now, because again, I know we live in crazy times and everybody's budget conscious, but as I just explained for the last few minutes, these consultations and coaching, even though they're not cheap, they're gonna save you money in the short term and in the long term. So think it over. Let me know if you guys got any questions, and I will chat with some of you guys soon. Coach out.